Pop icons like Madonna, Lady Gaga, Beyoncé, Benson Boone, and Taylor Swift captivate audiences today. But over a century ago, another star shone even brighter. Without the benefit of television, social media, or the internet, her name was Sarah Bernhardt. Before we delve into the fascinating life of Sarah Bernhardt, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm using an AI voiceover because English isn't my native language. Now let's meet the divine Sarah.
Mark Twain said, "There are 5 kinds of actresses: bad actresses, fair actresses, good actresses, great actresses, and then there is Sarah Bernhardt." When dealing with Sarah Bernhardt, it is worth bearing in mind that Sarah heavily embellished her life. This, I believe, is fairly common when it comes to stars. The celebrity becomes tangled in his or her fame, which leads to distortions in such trivial matters as the truth. Having said that, the fact remains that Sarah Bernhardt was blessed with exceptional talent and intelligence. She was not regarded as an ordinary beauty due to her slender figure and frizzy hair, but she knew how to use her early life experiences of going from poverty to wealth to her advantage. She was the illegitimate child of Julie Bernhardt, a sex worker and courtesan from the Netherlands who had settled in Paris. Her father's identity is unknown. However, he may have been a young Le Havre-born naval officer named Morel. One of her mother's lovers was the Duc de Morny, Napoleon III's half-brother. It was upon his insistence that Sarah, at the age of 16, entered the Paris Conservatoire, a government-sponsored school of acting. She studied there from 1860 to 1862, and during this time, she also began taking art classes. Stage fear and inexperience hampered Sarah's August 11, 1862, debut at the Comédie Française in the title role of Racine's Iphigenie, and the performance was far from an immediate hit. The reviews that followed were discouraging, to say the least. During this time, Sarah's strained relationship with her mother deteriorated even further. Even though Sarah was working for the Comédie Française and making a good living, her mother wanted to auction her to the highest bidder. It was an open secret that Julie Bernhardt made whores of her daughters as soon as they turned 13. Because she was living in a convent at the time, Sarah was spared the brunt of it. However, her 2 sisters, Regine and Jean, had less luck. They both ended up following in their mother's footsteps, becoming little more than prostitutes and passing away at a young age. A blessing in disguise came in the form of the Madame Nathalie incident. During a function commemorating the birthday of Molière, Sarah's younger sister, Regine, accidentally stepped on the train of a senior actress, Madame Nathalie. The elderly actress shoved Regine, who was but a child, leading Sarah to slap the famed Madame Nathalie. Demanding an apology, the high-ranking actress got the management involved, but Sarah Bernhardt would have none of it, tearing up her contract as she stormed from the Comédie Française. By standing up to Nathalie, she had become a sensation in the Paris theater world, a scandalous topic of conversation. Bernhardt found employment at the Théâtre du Gymnase-Dramatique, where she appeared in about half a dozen productions. She also became the mistress of Henri, Prince de Ligne, and gave birth to her only child, Maurice. Marriage was not an option, as the aristocrat would have forsaken his inheritance should he do so. The couple broke up, and Bernhardt raised her son on her own. Years later, after Bernhardt gained fame, the prince suggested that he wanted to officially recognize his son, giving him his name and title. Maurice declined, stating that he is proud to be the son of the divine Sarah. If this story sounds like a fairy tale, it is what Bernhardt would like you to believe. As I have said earlier, Bernhardt embellished every aspect of her life, and there is no way of fact-checking all the details. Be that as it may, Bernhardt could not care less about Maurice's illegitimacy, and as with everything else, she would wholeheartedly embrace being a single mother. She had many lovers and worked as a courtesan, but very much on her own terms. Unlike many actresses of her time, she didn't trade sex for financial support. Instead, she created a unique social circle. Utilizing her charisma, intelligence, and undeniable magnetism, Bernhardt established a court of admirers in her Parisian apartment. This group of prominent men, seemingly content with the arrangement, showered her with collective attention and shared her affection openly. She loved all things Gothic and even got her gaggle of admirers to pay for the coffin she desired. The black curtains of her apartment were embroidered with bats. She kept a skeleton as decoration and was fond of wearing a hat that incorporated a taxidermied bat into its design. The line gets blurred somewhere between what is a publicity stunt and what is the true character of Sarah Bernhardt. She did insist on taking her coffin on tour with her and was photographed sleeping in it, creating the impression that the coffin was indeed her preferred berth. In 1866, the historic Odeon Theatre had two directors, Charles de Chilly and Félix de Quesnel. While de Chilly did not care for Bernhardt, de Quesnel instantly bonded with her, believing that a strong start and enough public exposure would ignite a shining star. Bernhardt's first big break came when she played a 10-year-old boy in Racine's Athalie at the Odeon and received praise from both the public and critics. Amid protest and controversy following the cancellation of Victor Hugo's Ruy Blas, the Parisian public showed its regard for Bernhardt. Students, upset about the cancellation of Hugo's famous political piece, disrupted the Alexandre Dumas play that was being staged in its place. Bernhardt stopped her own lines, retaliating. If the students were so dedicated to justice, it was hardly just of them to blame Dumas for the banning of Ruy Blas. This put an end to the disruptions, and the students started referring to themselves as Seraditeurs. Then, in 1869, Sarah played Zanetto in the François Capet play, Le Passant. This, as already mentioned, was not the first time that Bernhardt played a male role, but this was the role that would make her famous. She'd go on to play the part many times over and even perform for Emperor Napoleon III and Empress Eugenie. This period marked the beginning of a series of romantic entanglements for Bernhardt. It became the norm for her to sleep with her leading male co-star, and beyond the Odeon, rumors swirled of affairs with multiple men within the company, including a shocking allegation of concurrent relationships with a father and son. Later, she would become involved with the renowned author Victor Hugo, a man 42 years her senior, further fueling the public's interest. Whispers even hinted at a connection to royalty, specifically Napoleon III and Edward, Prince of Wales. Did these rumors fuel her fame? Absolutely. The Franco-Prussian War proved devastating for France, but for Sarah Bernhardt, it became an opportunity to demonstrate her fierce patriotism. Upon hearing the news of the conflict, she swiftly returned to Paris from the south of France. After ensuring her family's safety, Bernhardt secured permission from de Quesnel to transform the closed Odeon Theatre into a much-needed military hospital. Leveraging her connections and influence, she tirelessly procured essential supplies for the wounded soldiers. After the war and the uprising of the Paris Commune that followed, which caused Bernhardt to escape the city, she returned and began practicing for her part as Dona Marie de Neubourg, the Spanish queen. Now that France was a republic, Victor Hugo could safely return from his exile in the Channel Islands, and his much-anticipated Ruy Blas was to be staged at the Odeon. With Hugo himself at the helm, the play's opening night crackled with electricity. They were clearly enthralled with each other's abilities. Following the performance, a smitten Hugo reportedly kneeled before Bernhardt, praising her for her masterful portrayal of the queen. This marked the beginning of their complex relationship. Hugo, a seasoned author of 70, found himself drawn to the brilliance of the 27-year-old Bernhardt. Don't forget that Sarah Bernhardt was also a talented painter and sculptor, and in 1874, she rented a studio in Montmartre. Here, she would entertain her friends, roaming about wearing her bohemian artist uniform, which was basically a silk pantsuit, which at the time was considered to be very daring. For 25 years, her art was showcased at the prestigious Salon exhibitions. One piece, depicting an old Breton peasant woman overcome with grief as she cradles the lifeless body of her drowned son, earned her an honorable mention. Sarah Bernhardt's artistic pursuits led her to Louise Abima, a prominent painter who frequented the lesbian circles of Paris. Bernhardt never spoke openly to the press about her lovers, male or female, but she did nothing to dispel speculation about her numerous romantic quests. There are several sexy photos and joint works of art that would indicate that they shared a bond that went beyond friendship. Among these was a sculpture showing their hands clasped together, a popular theme in sculpture at the time that was nearly exclusively used to represent married couples. Abima also became Sarah's unofficial portrait painter, and the two would remain close friends until Sarah's death in 1923. After a successful London tour with the Comédie Française, Bernhardt resigned, resulting in the company suing her for breach of contract. Undeterred, she returned to England as a solo artist with a company she claimed to have formed overnight. This, too, was a resounding success. Bernhardt no longer felt beholden to the limitations of the Comédie Française. Empowered, she embarked on a whirlwind tour, captivating audiences in Brussels, Copenhagen, and 25 French cities in a single month. By October 1880, her sights were set on a new conquest, the United States. In the end, Bernhardt would undertake 9 tours in the United States and numerous more throughout Europe and even some regions of Asia. With each tour, Bernhardt's fame and wealth soared. Her captivating performances delighted audiences worldwide, even without speaking their language. A master of physicality and gesture, Bernhardt transcended language barriers, conveying emotions and stories with her expressive body and voice. She defied convention by taking on both male and female roles, adding another layer of intrigue to her captivating stage presence. Mike Tyson kept tigers, Kristen Stewart's pets are wolf-dog hybrids, and then there was Michael Jackson's beloved pet chimpanzee, Bubbles. Sarah outshone them all. She had a boa constrictor, a lion, a parrot, a puma, 2 horses, a monkey named Darwin, and an alligator named Ali Gaga, to whom she served milk and champagne. Sarah Bernhardt wasn't just an incredible actress. She was a superstar in the mold we recognize today. She was, in fact, a pioneer of modern celebrity culture. Designers clamored to dress her, artists captured her likeness in paintings and sculptures, and magazines chronicled her every move, fueling gossip columns with details of her life. She transcended traditional boundaries, becoming a brand ambassador for various products, leveraging her iconic image with her signature tall and slender figure and cascading hair. These partnerships mirrored the collaborations we see today between celebrities and fashion houses, like Keira Knightley with Chanel or Natalie Portman with Dior. Bernhardt frequently sported the designs of Jacques Doucet, and her jewelry came from the renowned Lalique. When the press criticized her figure, claiming that she was too skinny, she wore tight-fitting dresses to showcase her slender form. When the size of her nose drew comments, she had artists paint her in profile, emphasizing her Jewish nose. Miss Bernhardt understood the concept of self-promotion and was at her most powerful around the turn of the 20th century. She was a worldwide sensation and in full control of her own destiny. To help with marketing and promotion, she enlisted the Czech artist Alphonse Mucha. The striking Art Nouveau posters Mucha created for Bernhardt helped transform her from a well-respected actress into an international icon at the turn of the 20th century and have endured as lasting reminders of her charismatic persona. When Sarah saw the first full-sized portrait, she was so enamored by it that she offered Mucha a 6-year contract for designing posters and stage sets. For Mucha, who at the time had no real poster experience, it was the kind of break most artists can only dream of. Mucha designed the posters all in the same elongated, full-length format, giving Bernhardt a saintly appearance and furthering her public image as La Divine Sarah. In her 70s, the great French actress was suffering from agonizing pain in her right knee. As the heroine in Victorien Sardou's play Tosca, on which Puccini's opera was based, she hurled herself off the castle wall to kill herself in despair, injuring her leg. Her first attempt at wearing a cast was in 1914, and she rented a villa in Andernos, near Bordeaux, hoping that a period of complete immobilization would help, but it did not. Divine Sarah was a strong-willed person who concluded she was better off without the leg. Samuel Pazzi, a surgeon who was one of her loves, was instructed to chop it off above the knee. She questioned, "Why condemn me to constant suffering?" She threatened to shoot herself in the leg and have it amputated if he did not assist her. She wrote, "I want to live as long as I have left or die right away." She experimented with wooden prosthetics, but finding them uncomfortable, opted to be carried in a sedan chair. Unfazed, she returned to the Parisian stage by year's end, even performing for French soldiers and embarking on a final American tour. In 1914, the French government awarded Bernhardt the Légion d'honneur, the highest decoration bestowed upon both military and civilian recipients. It paid tribute to her acting and directing careers. The award has been in existence since Napoleon established it in 1802, and in order to be eligible, a recipient must have served for at least 20 years and have good repute. Sarah Bernhardt passed away on March 26, 1923, at home in her son's arms, with Abima by her side. Newspapers have been reporting in-depth stories about her failing health for weeks. Her passing sparked a global outcry. A depressing announcement in the LA Times read, "There is but one sentence today on the lips of Paris. Bernhardt is dead." She requested that her funeral mass be held at the Saint François de Sales church, which she frequently visited while in Paris. 30,000 people paid their final respects at her funeral the next day, and a huge crowd trailed her coffin from the church to Père Lachaise Cemetery.
Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something cool. If you liked it, subscribe and hit that thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what other videos you'd like to see.